Hey y'all, my name is Jasmine Jones and I am a licensed clinical social worker, and you're now watching Black Girl, a Therapist in the Wild. And this is a little show I like to call Therapist Sips and Reviews. And this is another 1970s rewind. This is a request from a viewer. Thank you for your request. Thank you for viewing. 1974, Diane Carroll, James Earl Jones, Claudine. How y'all doing? So I've never heard of this movie. I've never seen this movie. But watching this movie just has me agitated once again because of the system and also because of niggas. First of all, let's get the elephant out the room because my neurodivergency says so. James Earl Jones was a colorist. Yes, there are interviews where he mentions that just horrible things about black women. And so, horrible people can be great artists. Yes. And so, we can acknowledge the great art and the horribleness at the same time. So watching this made me feel like, oh, look at him acting like he likes black women, just pretending. He's an actor, y'all. God rest his soul. Yes. I don't care if he was Mufasa. The man was a whole colorist, had a whole interview with his white woman sitting next to him. You Google it, you YouTube it, you find it yourself. Where he was just going on and on about the plight of black women and why he doesn't want to date black women. And you can say, oh, he was a young man. He was a grown up. He was grown doing movies like this, where it was basically blueprinted out why a lot of black people struggle in poverty. The whole blueprint. You read the script, however many months it took to act the part, and you still felt the need to write. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, let's get into the description, the review of the movie. So, Claudine is, played by Diane Carroll, magnificently looking woman, and at her peak youthfulness, and it was just very hard to believe that she was a woman living in a ghetto that had 6 babies come out of her vagina, just because she looked nothing like it. Just peak Diane Carroll. And I was just like, okay, we're going to suspend belief, because she plays glamorous. Even when she's trying to be poor, this one plays glamorous. She is all of Dynasty. But she's trying her hard. Like, there was one scene where he was like, you're so beautiful. And she was just like, me? I was like, bitch, you're Diane Carroll. Yes, you. I couldn't. I was like, girl, what do you mean me? Like, you know who the fuck. So anyways, Claudine is a mother of 6 children. I believe they live in Harlem. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they live in Harlem. They live in poverty. She's on welfare, but she works as a maid and gets paid under the table, because if she has a job, this is how welfare works, and it still works this way to this day in some ways, in some forms of fashion. If you make too much money, they take your welfare away. So it's a system set up to bait and switch you. We're going to help you financially, but if you make too much money, and too much money could be the barest of minimum wages that is not enough to pay rent at all, and the welfare is the extra money coming in to help you make it by. And as soon as they see that you're making the barest of minimum wages, they say, oh, you don't need this money anymore. Like, love, the barest of minimum wages is just paying for the food in the house. The welfare is paying the rent, or vice versa. Now we can't pay the rent. Now we can't live. Now we're homeless while we're out here trying to make the barest of minimums and trying to get a job to do what we need to do and stuff like that. You go to school, you get a student loan refund. Oh, that's too much money in the house. And apparently, I don't know if this is still done, but these welfare motherfuckers came into her house looking for new things that she's bought to see how much money she's been spent. Girl. And I remember my mom had food stamps. Like, I remember when I was young, and there was a period where she wasn't working because my mom had like mental health issues and shit, and so she would take leaves of absences from work because it would just be too much for her, and she would be like hospitalized and all sorts of shit. That's why I take care of myself, because that shit's hereditary and stress makes it worse, and I am not going to end up like she did, in and out of mental health hospitals, taking leaves of absences because the world was just too much on top of her being emotionally sensitive. But no, at some point she was not working for a while. She had taken a long leave of absence from work, and I remember going going to the welfare office with her. That was back in the 90s where you had to actually go to the office. You couldn't like do a lot of this paperwork and shit like that online. And then we were there all day. I think we literally got there at 9 a.m. We didn't leave till about 3 p.m. We were there all day. I vaguely remember sitting in this big bureaucrat building waiting for hours and just bored and not totally understanding what was going on, but kind of sort of. And back then I don't believe they had like the EBT cards. It was like these little fake welfare dollars. And so she signed up for that, and we were on welfare for like, or getting food stamps at least for a decent portion of time. I was young. I didn't understand what was going on. I just didn't want to be in that office all day, not really knowing what was going on. So I don't remember anybody coming to the house and looking around, but then also I was a kid. I was going to school every day. So who knows what was happening while I was at school. But I don't know if they still do that to this day. If they do, let me know in the comments down below. Do the welfare check people come, the case managers, because they called her a social worker. And I'm just like, I hate that, because that's not what these people are. Social worker is a prestigious title. You have to get a degree for it. Like, I am a social worker. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I could literally do anything. I have my own private practice. I'm a therapist. They're not just county workers and bureaucratic workers and things like that. The people that usually work at the county, those are called case managers. They're not actual social workers. They and social workers have been lobbying, like people with social work degrees have been lobbying in the government for years to get that title taken off of them. But I think you can't take it out of people's minds. People already attribute the term social work to the county and bureaucracy and case managers and things like that, and that's not what they are. They're just case managers. They're managing your case. So anyways, I don't know if that still happens, where they come to your house and look at all your shit and then like clock how much you've spent on the randomest shit in your house, like a television. So anyways, she works and gets paid on the table as a maid. And the fucked up thing is, it starts off with her going to work right on the bus, and like when she gets to these white people's house, the whole kitchen is a mess. Like there's like grapefruit peels left on the sink, old dishes and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, there's two grown people in the house. So you just left this here for her to clean up? Like, you're just leaving trash on the floor? Like, when I was a kid, it didn't register to me that you're not supposed to leave stuff on the floor in the movie theaters. I saw my mom do it, so I would do it. And now as an adult, I realize, oh, that's littering. They just told me you're supposed to leave it on the floor. Like even now when I hire a maid to clean my spot, like I declutter first, like, because they will throw shit away, and like some stuff you just have to declutter because like they don't know where to put everything, especially if you have a lot of shit in your home. So some stuff you need to throw away and you need to clean before the maid comes. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care what you're talking. No, you need to clean before the maid comes. The maid comes and deep cleans. You need to declutter the trash and the shit lying around your spot, especially the shit that you don't want them to just put in a trash bag and throw away before they come. I don't care. I'm not rich enough to afford the maids that come and declutter for you too. I don't know, but I don't like to leave extra shit hanging around for them to clean up when I could just declutter at the very least. So when I saw that they had all that shit on the sink, I was just like, so you just left all this shit here for her to come and clean up? She's just a girl. I mean, they didn't treat her bad. Like, she could move freely through the house, talk freely. So that's where she meets James Earl Jones. I think his name is Rupert. And like, he's a trash man, and she sees him every day that she works. So they kind of have this rapport already going, but like, everything just moved a little too fast for me, and I just feel like this is a part of the struggle of being in poverty and going through stuff. In the Black community, we lean on each other. We leaned on each other a lot more back then. We were more of a community back then and helping each other and being around each other. So I felt it was slightly that, leaning on each other to support each other, but like sexually and stuff. But also I felt like you're moving way too wide. So basically he asked her out, and he wants to go out with her that night, and he asked her for her address. She has 6 babies in the house. Why are you giving this strange man your address? And the fact that he didn't show up after she was home. He showed up before she got home and came to the door, knocked on the door, told the kids that he's Rupert. He's here for your mom. They don't know you, sir. And then basically the kids didn't let him in, of course. Her oldest daughter was just like, no, my mama told me not to let strangers in the house. And he was like, oh, okay. I'm just like, why would you even consider, after she said that her mama wasn't home, why would you even consider asking to go inside after that? That was weird. It felt weird. It felt uncomfortable. But anyways, he goes back to his car and sits in his car and waits on her and starts taking a nap. And she gets there finally. The bus was late. She was going through all this stuff. And she, takes him upstairs to around her children. And that was uncomfortable. He's a stranger. You have a little rapport because you talk to him. You don't know if he's a child molester. You don't know if this is the height of serial killers and shit. Ted Bundy was walking around murdering motherfuckers. Jeffrey Dahmer was murdering motherfuckers during this time, and all the other ones, they were doing it during this time, all the way up until the mid 90s, from the 1960s all the way up to the mid 90s. That's when we have reports of these serial killers en masse doing shit like, why are you introducing this man to you? But you know what? I think it's just the impulsiveness of being traumatized. When we're traumatized and we're going through stuff and we got poverty trauma, we're just making impulsive ass decisions all the time just to feel something, anything that will make you feel a little bit better. We're not going to think too much about, he's nice, he's jolly. I think that's why he got away with a lot of shit, because he's jolly and chipper and he's friendly like a Santa Claus and shit. And so like she was overlooking stuff just because he's nice. And I was just like, girl, la, 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 la. Okay, whatever, girl. And I'm just like, 6 kids, baby girl. Like, what? I want to know what happened in her life, because we see it repeating in her daughter's life. We see it in all her kids, like a good portion of her kids, that they got some shit going on. Like the little one wants to be invisible. The little boy wants to be invisible. He doesn't want nobody to see him. The oldest son's like a freedom fighter, and by the end of the movie he gets a vasectomy because just the babies in the house. You know how much weight that is on your older children to have to be parents to your younger children. Like when the daughter, like when she found out the daughter was pregnant, there was no discussion of an abortion or anything like that. And I understand some people are highly against abortion and they don't want to get it and things like that, but nothing was even offered to her as an option. Like if this 18-year-old get a vasectomy back then, which I'm still on the fence about, because I just feel like he's 18. When you're 18, you don't fully know who you are yet. And no one is telling these niggas that vasectomies are permanent, love. No, that's permanent birth control, because the longer you have the vasectomy, if you try to reverse it, it becomes more and more impossible to reverse it, because the process that makes the sperm fertile, they've cut that part off. So that's an intricate process that if they try to put that back together, the longer you've had the vasectomy, the less likely you would be able to have your own kids. So I feel in my spirit there may be some regret there later on for a decision that you made when you were 18. I feel in my spirit, because no one's giving you the option to choose. And if you got money, you can decide to freeze your sperm instead. So you really do have a choice then of if I want to have kids later. I feel like fully and truly that you cannot make a full decision based off of trauma that you have not healed from, especially not at 18 years old. A full permanent decision about such a big life choice, you can't make that young. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care. You remember yourself at 18? You remember yourself and the stupid decisions you made and the impulsive decisions you made? What if some of them decisions lasted till today? And for some of you, they have, and you regret it and you feel a type of way and all this other stuff. So like, I feel like it's 1970 something. This child, no one explained to this child that this is permanent birth control. Like, they're not explaining it to men today. You got women out here talking about these niggas should get vasectomies and shit. Like, it's like, and then they're gonna be like, oh, but it's reversible. No, it's not. No, it's not. The longer you've had it, the less the percentage of it being reversible goes down and down and down until eventually even if they did reverse it, love, that process that makes the sperm fertile is not going to make your sperm fertile, and you're not going to be able to have kids ever in life, ever. And if that is the choice that you've made wholeheartedly, that's wonderful for you. But I think people, especially children that are 18, need to be told that before they make that decision for themselves. So I just felt like, okay, but if they're able to get a vasectomy in 1970, and she was mad about that, I was just like, girl, like you're the example. You're the example of, and you are not able to care for these children emotionally to the best of your ability to be having these conversations. And when and you focus on this nigga that, anyways, let's get back. So they go on the date, like he comes to her spot, and then like havoc happens with the 6 babies. Like one of the kids broke the toaster, and that she can't get into the bathroom. She wants to take a bath and get ready for the date. And so like she can't do it. So she's telling him like, let's schedule for another time. And he's like, no, let's do it tonight. You can come to my place and take a bath. I'm so glad that he didn't turn out to be a rapist. This could have turned so many different ways. Or a child molester. So many this is a stranger. Don't do that. This is a stranger. So many horrible different ways. He's just this jolly old ne'er-do-well that doesn't take care of his own children, but decides that he wants to play house with her and her kids for a little bit. That's what it is. So she goes to his house, and he tries to fuck off top before she even gets in the tub, and she's like, no, I don't want to. And so she gets in his tub, that she sees a rat in his spot. They in the hood. They live the best life that they can live right now. So I'm not even gonna be mad about the rat. She gets in the tub, right? And she falls asleep in the tub, right? While he's like got the wine out. I really feel like there was never going to be a date. I really feel like he was never going to take her out because he prepped the wine, the drinks, all of this while she was taking a bath. And I feel like, why are you prepping wine and drinks and stuff if you're going to go on a date once you go? He wasn't going to this was a bamboozlement of mass proportions. And so she falls asleep in the bathtub. He goes and jimmies the lock with a credit card. I have no idea how you do that. Like they make it look so easy. I think I tried it once when I locked my keys in the house. I wasn't able to do it. I don't know how you do that, but they make it look so easy. He opens the door. I thought that was when the raping was going to happen. I was just like, oh, she's about to get raped. Like trauma. Like no, like she's in the tub, she told him to get out, and he broke into the bathroom and shit. But no, like he's like, oh, and he wakes her up. He puts his hand in the water and I thought he was gonna grab for a private area. He grabbed her hand. Girl, every step of the way I'm just like, this nigga's a stranger. And so he's like, oh, well, you're so tired, let's just, I figure you're too tired to go out. Let's just get a bucket of chicken. And she's like, okay, and get me some fries. I'm like, bitch, let it be. First of all, I wouldn't be in this situation. I don't care how poor I am. I'll be like, no, I'm not too tired. I'm not too tired. No, let's go out. Let's go out to eat. I was excited for the dinner. Let's go. And the fucked up part is the oldest daughter clocked it before they left the house. She just looked at her mom and she was like, it's just gonna be some chicken and don't get pregnant. And I was just like, girl. And at first I didn't realize, cause before they even pulled out the bucket of chicken, I didn't realize. I thought that was some 1975 jive talk. I was like, what does chicken mean? It's just gonna be some chicken. And I was like, oh, Is that like AAVE in the 1970s? What's chicken mean? Girl, it meant that this has happened before. And the baby knows. And the baby knows what she about to get. And it was just a bucket of fried chicken and some cheap wine at his little dining table in the living room. And I was just like, no, and because it's Diane Carroll too. This is Dynasty, bitch. This is Diane Carroll from Dynasty. Diamonds covering everything. Just everywhere. Like, she carries herself like she should be covered in diamonds, even in this movie. And I just was like, Diane Carroll sitting at a table. Maybe this is like Halle Berry and Baps. Maybe this is like their Baps movie where they were just trying to make some money and shit. But it is a good movie though. So it is like one of them hidden gems and stuff because these are actors. That's why Baps was good, because Halle Berry and the other girl were actors and stuff like that. I forgot her name. I'm sorry, because she passed. God bless her. I forgot her name, but she was an actor too. And so that's why Baps was good, because Halle Berry and that other girl could act. I think this is their this is their Baps. This is we needed to make some money movie. Because they were great artists even in 1974. So and the way she carries herself in this movie, like James Earl Jones is trying to be like a little hood, like a little jive turkey nigga, whatever they say in the 1970s and whatever. He's trying to be all of that. Diane Carroll just being Diane Carroll. Like, she's just like elegante and all this. I'm just like, girl, you did not pop six babies out that vagina. You look like you work out every fucking day. My cousin was skinny after she had 2 kids, but her titties was still saggy. Everything's propped up. Everything's tight. Skin is glowing. Hair is shiny, not a dark circle under her eye anywhere. It's not giving I'm stressed out by life and 6 kids. It's not. James Earl Jones looks more stressed out by life and the 4 kids he got that are separate, or 3 kids, well, however many fucking kids. He looked more stressed out than her, but I don't know. Like, they could have put some makeup on her or something to make her look a little bit more haggard, because Diane Carroll got a glow about her and she can't. You can't. Like, it wasn't believable. She acted well, but she acted in a way where, like, regal. She was like, I am a queen. Like even when she was trying not to like she was a queen. She's a queen, bitch. And she was giving queen. And I was just like, yeah, girl, we in the hood. We got 6 kids. Sure we do. Sure. Yeah. Like, let's stay. And I hated the way James Earl Jones kissed. I do. Like, I hate that shit. They end up fucking that night and he just like whole mouth was eating her face. And I was just like, can we take it off of here? Like, why does it have to last this long? Like, it doesn't need to last this long. Like, whole mouth was eating her fucking face. And I was just like, honey, that's enough. We don't need to do more than that. Like, we get it. We understand. You want to kiss this bitch. I'm tired. Lord, don't let me get haunted. God rest his soul. He was, people that feel that way about black women, they're troubled souls. They're troubled souls. And, God rest his soul. Jesus protect me with his angels from the haunting that may occur, because I'm talking shit. I don't give a fuck. You shouldn't have said what you said. I don't care what you're talking about. Anyways. So like they fuck, and then now they're dating. Now they're seeing each other, and the kids know, and he's trying to play dad and shit like that. And during the course of the first date, like, he never takes her out on a date, y'all. She just goes to his house and they fuck. Like, that's all they do. Like, during the course of the day, she finds out, like, he's all like, why do you have 6 kids? And then, she's triggered by this because people keep asking her, making her feel less than about it and shit like that. And then kind of find out this nigga got 3 kids that he don't see. And that made me pissed off, because during the course of this movie, he low-key tries to father her children. And I'm just like, how are you up here playing house fathering her kids when you aren't even fathering your own? Do you even call your children and check in on them? Girl, when that child support came through, I was like, yes, bitch. That's what you get, nigga. That's what you get for not fathering your own children. Instead, you're fathering her children because she's the vagina of the month and you want to play house in this vagina. That's what that is. And so you get what you got, bitch. Sitting up here about to go on welfare with this bitch, about to marry this bitch, impulsively marry this hoe because you sitting up here like, I'm in love. And no, you're not. No, you're not. You're doing the same shit you probably did with the other two bitches, and it's sad and miserable. But that's the plight of living, in a traumatized state. We just are doing impulsive, sad, miserable things to feel better, and it doesn't matter what happens in the long run or how it affects us in the long run. We're living for the moment. We're living by the seat of our pants and just hoping things turn out okay. And and she's doing the same thing too. And she's sitting up here like laying in bed with him after their first little situational date, talking about how she's always worried, always anxious, always. So she's like severely traumatized from whatever her lived experiences were. Like, I still want to know, like, how was she raised? But you can kind of see how she was raised and how she's raising her kids. Mom is always busy or out the house. The older kids are parentified and taking care of the younger kids. The older kids are tired of all this. The younger kid, one of them decides that he wants to be invisible and doesn't want to be seen. Basically, he wants to be free. He's tired of his mom yelling at him. He's tired of always having to hide shit from the welfare lady and shit. And so he wants to be invisible. And so by the end of the movie, he has to become selectively mute and is writing on a chalkboard, and everybody's just acting like it's normal. I mean, like, James Earl Jones like yelled at her about it, like, see, our son. And I'm just like, nigga, you can't say nothing. Like, you sitting up here ain't even taking care of your kids. You don't even call your kids. What are you talking about? And then you got the oldest son getting a vasectomy, and then the oldest girl is over here like, basically she don't like herself, and she thinks that she's nothing. She has a whole moment. The oldest girl has a whole moment where she has this whole crash out after going out with the dude that she's dating and shit. And her mom's like, where have you been? What have you been doing? Why are you da-da-da-da? And like, she's just like drunk. She's talking about like, oh, I went out with Akbar or Muhammad, whatever the fuck he changed. Teddy changed his name to something Muslim. And he's teaching me how to hold my liquor. And I was just like, okay, girl. I don't know how old she is. Probably 16. I don't know. The boy is 18 and shit. And so she's talking about, he's teaching me to hold my liquor and da-da-da-da-da. And like, and Diane Carroll's like, you need to be careful. And who do you think you are? And she was just like, I'm nothing. And nobody cares about me. And then she throws up and the girl don't like herself. The baby don't. She sees how her mom is treated in this world and sees how her mom treats her and sees how her mom has to do all this shit to just maintain and survive. Sees how her mom, who admittedly says that she's scared all the time, sees how her mom is scared all the time. And it's just like, this is the plight of women in this world. Well, fuck it then. I'm going to find my relief anywhere I can find it then. See, we're in this environment of trauma, just trying to find, and this is a systematic thing, like, we're not going to go into the child support situation. No, because you're not going to come on here and be like, seeing this nigga, no, because you should have been taking care of you don't even talk to your fucking kids. You don't even talk to you. By the end of this, when they get married, all I could think about was like, this gonna last about 2 years. She probably gonna pop out 2 more babies, and then he's gonna dip on her just like the other niggas did, and just like he's did with his other baby mamas. Pattern recognition, bitch, because we're not working on the foundational trauma that makes him act that way, and we're not working on her foundational traumas that make her overlook red flags and shit like that. And so since we're not working on that foundational trauma, eventually it's going to rise back up, and you are going to continue the pattern, because that's pattern recognition. You're going to continue those patterns of behavior until you fix them, and no one in this movie fixed anything. So anyways, he started coming to her house trying to play dad and shit like that. He buys the kids ice cream. None of them kids, like, they like him. They're starting to get connected to him because they want a dad. The oldest son think he's on some bullshit, but he's also, because he's a kid, he's also getting connected to him because he wants a dad too. They all want a fucking dad. And so he buying them ice cream and doing all this other shit. The younger kids be running around having fun. The older kids just look sad and miserable because they've experienced more of life than the younger kids have. And so like they know what life is. So it's hard to pep talk them into anything. Like so he can pep talk the younger kids. Like he pep talked the little 12-year-old boy who was skipping school into going, I think he went back to school. Going back to school instead of playing craps and shit with older people in the neighborhood. Because he was like, I just want to, I just want to be a pimp and do all this. And he's just like, the pimp don't make money. The pimp, da 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 da. And I was just like, okay, girl, the pimp don't make money. The pimp don't do this, that, and the other. And so he asked the kid how much money he lost, and basically he hadn't been doing good in math, but basically this kid can do math on top of his head if it's directed at something he enjoys, which is playing crap. So he used that to show this child that he is good at math and he needs to take his ass back to school. So he decided to take his ass back to school. And then there was this scene where he's with his friend, the other trash truck driver, and they're talking, and the dude is like, well, why are you dating somebody, a woman with 6 kids? Like, and then basically this motherfucker gonna say, well, because like she don't expect nothing out of me. Like all she want is dick and time. I can do dick and a couple dollars here and there thrown at her kids. A television here, a little mini television, a little toaster here and there. That ain't nothing. That's light work, nigga. These young bitches, they want me to take them out on dates and buy them dope and I was just like, wow. So you specifically go after women who don't ask you to be more than you're capable of. Which is valid if that's your thing, and y'all are happy in that mess together. But when there's kids involved, they expect you to be more than what you're capable of. And because you skipped out on your own kids. You skipped out on your own kids, love. So that means that eventually these kids are going to be too much for you. There's 6 of them. And most of them are little baby kids. And the thing is, he's getting stuff out the trash truck to give to her free shit. He's not going and buying shit. He's doing the shit that like my family members that work at the docks in Long Beach and shit do. Basically getting free shit off the truck and stuff. And then here come this case manager again coming to their house, trying to scope out. Oh well, like what did he buy you? What did he get you? Like what new shit do you have? And she's just constantly like hiding shit that he's bought her, folding up rugs and putting away this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, do they still do that? Is that something that's done? Like, I forgot what movie it was. It was like white folks, but I think it was like a fantasy movie or something. But like the tax person came to their house and was like taking account of, I forgot what movie it was. If I remember, I'm gonna put it to the side. But he was taking account of all the shit they bought in their house for taxes and stuff. And so like they was doing that to themselves first and shit. What movie it was. He was just going around the house. I think it was a fantasy movie too. I forgot. But like this bitch is in here like looking at her shit, asking her like, oh, where did you get and then she's talking about, oh, I heard you have a man coming over here. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's like, yeah, who told you that? And she's like, well, I'm not spying on you, but somebody reported it. And she's like, is it that bitch from across the way? I'm just like, why are we snitching on each other? Like, this is where snitching came from. Snitching is not talking about like real crimes that happen. Like snitching is I'm telling on you for surviving. That's what snitching is. I'm telling on you for doing, like if I see somebody in the store stealing food, I'm gonna go tell them why. They're stealing survival items. They're not in here like holding the place up and trying to kill people for the money in the cash registers and shit. Like they're stealing survival items. Why the fuck would I tell anybody? That's none of my business, love. But like, if you out here shooting and killing and harming people, I'm gonna tell. The fuck, like this is survival stuff. Like he's getting stuff off the trash truck that people throw away. He's not even buying this stuff, and this bitch is out here tallying it up. And she's basically like, she'll hide shit, but then like if the bitch catches anything, Then she just gets fed up and is like, here, well, he bought me this and he bought me this and he bought me this. And that's what happened the next time that she came, is that he was there and he was trying to hide in her apartment, and like the welfare bitch saw him and was like, well, who are you, and what? And then Diane Carroll just got fed up and was like, yeah, he brought me this and he brought me that and he brought that, and I'm just like, why are we policed like this? Like, welfare is just bait and switch. It's bait and switch to keep us impoverished, so you can't get a job that pays you decent money, and if you get a job that pays you barely enough, like, they take your welfare. So you can't even climb the ladder. Like, you have to start at entry level most of the time at most jobs. When you're on welfare, that means that you're in a place in life where if you do get a job, you're probably going to start at entry level, or it's going to be like some shift or part-time work to start off with, and then you have to climb the ladder or go to school on the side or something like that to get a better paying job, a career job. If you take most of the money away that they're using to pay bills, then they're not going to be able to climb the ladder at all, because now I'm worried about the money that was being used to pay bills. I have to replace that with something else. So now I have to quit all the shit that I'm doing and go back on welfare, or I'm going to have to get 2 or 3 jobs and not go to school and not try to get a career type professional job. And it's a system set up for failure. It really is. And for that nigga to go on there and talk about black women and black single mothers and whatever the fuck he said on that interview, and do a movie like this where it's broken down for you to see how the system screws you over, and you're able to verbally in the script say the things that make it difficult for people to climb the ladder, so what it, and then still to be that way. It's just sickening to me. It is it's fake and foolishness. And I know he's been in movies with black women, but I just feel like I don't give a fuck. That shit is fake. It's a lie. And you know how I feel about fakery and foolishness and lies. He'll come in here and be like, James Earl Jones was a great man and he was a good actor, and no one's taking away from his talents, but the talent doesn't mean that you're a good person. Talent just means that you use something to cope with the weak sadness inside of you that makes you a horrible person to a certain group of people. You use art to cope. That's all that is. That means that you hyper focus on art so that you wouldn't have to deal with yourself, and you use that to cope, but you're still a shitty person because you haven't dealt with yourself. That's all that means. That's God rest his soul in the name of. So, like, she's sitting around worried and anxious all the time, overwhelmed, doesn't know what to do, and like, eventually somehow they get around to a conversation about, I think she's about to end things with him, and they get around to a conversation of either him living with her or him marrying her, and that would entail, either of those options would entail him reporting to the welfare office, because if she has a man living in her home, that's another income, and so basically he has to report his income, and this nigga is willing to do that to be with her. And I'm just like, what fantasy and fairy tale are we living in that we are willing to do this for this woman that we met like maybe a few months ago, but we still don't give our children a phone call? We don't, our biological children that came from our loins, we don't give them a phone call. We don't go visit them. We just, this is my new family. This is like Lawrence and Insecure, and it very specifically illustrated how these niggas will attach the child that they have to their mother and will punish their mothers through the children. They don't see the children as separate individuals that need to be cared for and loved separately outside of their mother. They are their mother. So if this bitch pisses him off enough, triggers him enough, he will leave her too, just like he left the children that belong to the other 2 women that he had babies with. And I I hate that for these babies out here, just individual people being abandoned over and over again by these motherfuckers that don't. And the thing is like she's this is illustrated like because she's around the women that she rides the bus with. They're single mothers. They've been abandoned by the men that they're with. Like she's just around all these women that have been abandoned by the men that were supposed to love them and raise children with them and take care of them and stuff like that. And I just, what kind of epidemic is this? This is not a good man. This is a jolly man that has a jolly mask, and he's nice sometimes, and he tells funny jokes, and he buys ice cream, and he gives nice little pep talks. But when it comes down to the get down, this nigga will leave eventually. He will leave because the pattern has shown that he will leave, and he has not gotten the help or the cleansing of his soul that he needs to, you know, figure shit out. And so he decides to go with her to the welfare office, and they start talking about like what it looked like if like he signed up for welfare, and this is fraud if you like spend too much money, and if you decide to marry her then you have to not make as much money too, or you're gonna be on welfare too, and you have to not and there's this pride in these men about not being on welfare. There's this thing about being a lazy nigga and things like that. But the thing is, like, you are a part of creating this system because you are a part of creating these mothers who are single. It's not just the mothers who are, you know, are a part of it for deciding to have the children and deciding to be with men who lie about taking them on dates and buy them a bucket of chicken. It's you manipulating these situations and then fucking them with no condoms on. And so you create these single mothers who have to take, like, some of them don't believe in abortion. Some people don't believe in abortion. Some people, it's traumatic for them, for them it feels like killing a baby. And I am not going to judge either side. As long as y'all, as long as they ain't judging, like it's like them. I've been watching these reels on Instagram about like people that detransition from like being transgender, because it's a spectrum. And what I find in therapy, like people that tend to detransition, usually it's because they're basing their transition off of fear of men. I want to look like a man, so like I won't get bothered by men and things like that. Or like they figure out along the path that they're just not that gender. They're just not that gender. And they are kindly just posting videos without judging actual transgender folks that feel dysphoria and things like that. It's like that. It's like, as long as you're not judging people, like some people, they don't want to get an abortion. They don't judge people that get abortions. But they that's not for them. So I can't judge necessarily, because it wasn't mentioned in the movie if there was any disgust or judgment towards abortion. It wasn't mentioned at all. Like it was just automatically like, oh, her daughter's gonna have that baby. Like even the daughter was just like, well, me and Akbar Muhammad, whatever that nigga's name is, whatever that nigga, Abdul, there it is. We're gonna both get jobs, and it's just a fantasy that she's living in, this child. And I just a fantasy, you know, like hopefully Abdul turns out to be decent, but from the track record of this neighborhood and these niggas, it's not looking like he might, but he might. You never know. I'm not gonna take hope away from somebody. It was just not thought of, you know, it was just not thought of to get an abortion. So I'm thinking this is the type of family where it's just not thought of for them to get abortions. And so, like, you know, there are people that it's just not thought of, you know, you get pregnant, you had a baby. And so, like, you making these bitches pregnant and then you leaving them by themselves. When this is a time where there are condoms, latex condoms, not the lambskin that was around before latex, actual, and birth control pills and things like that. So women should be, but like this is 70s. So the side effects that we're seeing today with birth control pills and shit like that, it probably ain't got nothing on the shit from the 70s side effects. Okay. So I can't be mad about women not wanting to take birth control. Okay. Because I don't know how intense them side effects were when that shit was newer. Like, I don't know. I can't be judging that bitch for not taking them pills, and I don't know the side effects that are apparent now, like weight gain and mood swings, and sometimes it doesn't stop you bleeding. Sometimes you bleed the whole fucking month because it doesn't work with your system, your body and shit. So that's what I mean. Like, I can't judge these women for not taking the hormonal birth control pills. But I can judge these niggas for not putting condoms on, because all that is a sleeve. You just put that shit on. Why aren't you wearing condoms? Why aren't you wearing condoms, niggas? So you're a part of this system that create black women that go on welfare, because now they have these kids that they have to take care of, and kids are expensive, and so they can't keep going to school and get a career type job. They gotta try to work little shift jobs and 9 to 5. And if they got a lot of kids, you know, like, yeah, she should have, like, it's still like it's both sides, but I feel like it's the men creating the kids and they can do something about it. And instead, when you're fucking these bitches, you're saying, oh, I don't want to put a condom on. It should be as an individual decision based off the man to put a condom on, regardless of what the woman says. You need to wear a condom, love. That's your dick. So you wield the tool that creates the pregnancies. And a lot of times these men will talk you into not wearing a condom. They will. And because you're sad and miserable and you're looking for a quick relief, you just go with it because it's trauma land. And trauma land, you just do impulsive shit. And so, yes, the women should do better and be better and all this other stuff. But if this is the only example of love that you have around from a man, I'm gonna take what I can get. That's what your brain is logicalized into. I can take, and then you got the niggas telling you that they don't like wearing condoms. And so it's like, either you gonna not wear a condom or you not gonna have this nigga, and you don't want to go into it tomorrow by yourself. And it takes a lot of therapy to not want to be to not feel alone. That takes therapy. It don't take no therapy to put a condom on. It takes a lot of therapy to break down whatever's been built up in women to accept bullshit just so that they won't be alone. That takes working on yourself, working on the foundational stuff that's made you feel shitty about yourself, all of that. And because it takes therapy and work, and a lot of black women, especially in the 1970s, they were going to therapy. They were working on their traumas and shit like that. They, you know, they just allowed this behavior, and they shouldn't have, but there was nothing around them to help them work through the traumas of, like in Mahogany, the last movie I reviewed, of being consistently bombarded by these niggas at every turn, damn near every man you meet, they want something from you. It don't take therapy to put a condom on. That's an easier path. So you are a part of the system. These niggas are a part of the system that created this welfare state for a lot of black women, especially back then. And so she's sitting up here miserable with this nigga that is jolly and joking and all this other stuff. And now they're deciding, oh, okay, we're gonna live together or get married or something, and I'm gonna go on welfare. Just impulsive ass decisions. And I don't feel like it hasn't been too long this nigga's been in her life. I feel like it's been a couple months, a few months, maybe like a 6 months max. Like, and now we're talking about getting married. I don't understand why. Like, and maybe it's a part of living impoverished, and you know, we were more of a communal minded back then, and so it sounded smart in the moment to, like, communal minded means like when people, like, it's like the Green Book, when people would go drive to the South, they knew the black spots to go to where families would let people stay in their homes, strange black people stay in their home for the night if they were on a road trip through the South, shit like that. We were more communal back then, and that shit lasted into the 70s and maybe a little bit into the 80s and maybe a tad bit into the 90s. And so having that communal mindedness, it might have seemed smarter, for them to get married, to live together, for him to go on welfare, whatever the fuck. So he goes to the office with her, and they're explaining the stuff, and he's getting pissed off, talking about, oh, so I can't basically do nothing, or I can't even buy me a drink or nothing, or I have to tally it up for the welfare motherfuckers and shit. I was just like, yup, that's horrible. That's a prison. They lock you in a prison of poverty, and if you try to climb out of it, they just say like, oh, you're spending too much money, you have a lot of, so we're going to take the big chunk of money that you need to pay bills because you spent $100 on a television. I just, no, you think about it today, like where 1-bedroom studio apartments are like $3,000 a month. When back then, that shit, like in the 90s, you could get a 1-bedroom apartment for $500 a month. That's what I mean. Like even in the 90s, like even in the early, like mid 2000, I remember my first apartment in Long Beach in 2012 was $850 a month, 1-bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, all the shit. And it just slowly climbed up as the years went by, and it was some bullshit. I just, the devil incarnate. Anyways, so they decide to get married and shit like that, and he's gonna tell the kids and all that stuff, and he's gonna be their daddy. And I'm just like, you have children. And that's when the Lord comes in and strikes this motherfucker down and reminds him that, nigga, you have children that you are abandoning and not taking care of by coming in and garnishing his wages for child support. Them bitches went to court and said, no, we want more money because fuck this nigga. Right, because you can't hurt people and expect them to just sit there and allow it. You can't sit up here and play house with this bitch and then forget the kids that you sired. That's what you get. That's what the fuck you get. I'm surprised she ain't sought child support from them niggas. That she had 4 niggas. 2 she married, 2 she almost married. I don't understand how she didn't get child support from them too. I don't know. Maybe she's too nice. I would have took them for everything they had. You're not gonna leave me here with these babies and shit. I don't give a fuck, bitch. This is half yours. You should have put a condom on. That's your fault, you know. And so that's what he get. And so this nigga has a whole fucking meltdown and decides to skip town and leave and abandon her. And she crashes the hell out. And in the midst of her crash out, she comes into the house. Like first her oldest son is like telling her, well, I knew this was gonna happen, like, of course, like, he's a piece of shit, like. The other kid, because he was supposed to come to like her younger son's birthday and he never showed up, and so she finds out that he moved out of town and shit, and he didn't come to work and all this other shit. So the oldest son, the nigga from Cooley High, he was just like, see, I told you, la, 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 la. And maybe it was him that was talking about the younger son being mute and shit. Like, see, and he wants to be invisible, and you're not paying attention to the kids, and the other kid don't even want to go to school, and and I want to drop out of school, and you not paying. And she was just like, that's all I have is you kids. And I was just like, yes, girl, you need to raise your fucking kids. You need to raise your fucking kids and stop worrying about these niggas. That's what was her fault, is that she was more focused on this nigga than her children. Why aren't you paying attention? That's how your child ended up pregnant, because you're not paying attention to the kids. You're letting the older kids fucking babysit the younger kids. They are children too, love. You need to, and I understand that it happens in poverty. It happens. You have to go to work, but you are literally letting them stay there babysitting them younger kids because you want to fuck this nigga. And I just... The nigga that kisses like the nigga that in real life didn't even like black women. I just, girl, la 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 la. I don't care. I don't even care if he apologized about it later. I think he did, but he still said some fuck shit when he tried to apologize. This was a fake ass apology. I don't care. The nigga had talents, and he used his talents to cope with the horribleness inside of him. There it is. I don't care. Anyway, so he skips town, and so she goes back inside the house after crying on the stoop. Stoop, kid. Well, won't ever leave his stoop. You ain't watched Hey Arnold. You are too young for me. And then she sees her daughter wearing like her little nightgown. Now, at first I didn't know what was going on. I was like, why is she beating her for trying on her nightgown? Like, what's? I guess she saw her stomach was pregnant. I didn't see her stomach was pregnant, but she saw that the baby's stomach was pregnant. I don't know. And oh yeah, I'm drinking Kahlua and milk. Yes, we're back to our Kahluas. I re-upped. Yes. It tastes like chocolate milk. It's magical. Can't drink too much of that. That's the auntie drink. I remember my aunt used to drink Kahlua. I remember we went to Mexico one time on this cruise, and my aunt was just telling my mom, "You need to bring me back like 3 bottles of Kahlua from Mexico." I was just like, and my mom brought back 3 bottles of Kahlua from Mexico. It was a whole experience. She like snuck it in the bag and shit so they wouldn't check it. Big old bottles of Kahlua. I was just like, because it's cheaper down there. It's cheaper down there. You know, it's a system. It shouldn't be cheaper. Shit shouldn't be cheaper in Mexico. It's the system that makes their money not as expensive. I don't know how money works. Leave me alone. Anyway, so so like she beats the shit out this child, and I was just like, nigga, we shouldn't hit our kids. We should not hit our kids. And the way she hit her, it went into abuse. But they're all traumatized and there's still love there. I had to say it because we grew up in black households, and I know the difference between an abusive parent that gets off on beating you and treating you like shit all the time, and someone that is tired and overwhelmed and fucking snaps. Because my mom did that one time. It was the worst beating I ever got. I don't even remember. I think I was just being a brat all fucking week and just saying snarky shit and doing snarky shit and having an attitude. And she just fucking snapped one time. And my mom was really loving and she bought me shit all the time. I was fucking spoiled and shit. I was a fucking asshole. Not to say we should hit her. I deserve to be hit, but like I as an adult, I can understand crashing out and snapping like that. Should have done something else instead of hit me like that, but you know. And like she got this belt out and she started wailing to the point where it was like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I was running from the bitch, and I literally was trying to get away, and I got to the bed and I lifted up the mattress. I was trying to get under the mattress. It was a whole situation to the point where my grandmother came to the door of the bedroom and was like, "That's enough. You need to stop. Like, what's going on? That's enough." And I mean, she stopped. I had welts and shit. And it was the only time it happened. I did not think my mother was a monster. I was just like, wow, she was really mad. Like, that's all I thought. That's all I remember thinking as a child. She was really upset. Like, I don't even know what happened. She was really, and then things got back to normal a couple days later, and it was fine. And she never did that again. I remember one time, like, she had never done this before, but she slapped me in the face. I think I cussed her. We were sitting in the car waiting. I think we were waiting for my aunt to come out of the store or something. And I think I cussed or something. And she turned around, and I don't think she meant to slap me in the face, because I think she was trying to reach for my arm or something. But she had never slapped me in the face before. And I just sat there and I was like, and then she was like, we were just like, she was like, "I didn't mean to do that. I was trying to get your arm." And I was just like, I just sat back and I was like, oh my God. And I think she bought me something after that, because she had never did that shit before. Oh, that shit is funny now. Like, you just laugh at trauma because you know the intent was not to be abusive, but it still hits your nervous system like you've been abused. And so, no, the bitch shouldn't have hit her with that brush like that. But that doesn't mean that she didn't love her child. That doesn't mean that her child didn't love her. And that doesn't mean that they weren't able to figure it out. We need to stop hitting our kids, though. We need to figure out a different way to deal with their stuff. So she beat the brakes off this child, which she shouldn't have done, because she snapped because the child was pregnant, and that was the thing. She wanted to keep her child from following in her footsteps. But it's like, baby girl, this is the example you keep showing her, though, like that, to the point where she knew that you was just gonna be on a chicken dinner date. Like, that this nigga wasn't about to take you nowhere on an actual date. Like, he wasn't about to do that. Like, so this has happened enough times for her to know exactly what y'all about to do. This is the example that you are setting for your child, and you don't stop. And so this is the only way the child thinks life is. So of course, and she's told you that she feels like nothing and that she'll never be nothing. And you're not changing. You're not giving her a better example. You're not showing her what it looks like to set boundaries. You're just allowing this nigga with his abandoned children to come into your house with his children abandoning ass, and like in front of your kids, and they know what type of nigga he is because he's the same type of nigga that you've been bringing into the house. And you expect them not to follow in your footsteps and not be traumatized by the system, society, and all the shit that they see you have to go through. And no one's, because their therapy was a white man's game back then. And so I have to, all of this, I have to give it to her. Because therapy was a white man's game. The only reason black folks started going to therapy en masse in the mid 2010s and above is because of social media. Really is. We all were telling the same stories to each other on social media. We all realized these weren't isolated incidences, and then a lot of us started going to therapy, and other people piggybacked off of other people, and we just kept going to therapy. And then there are a lot of black women started going to school to become therapists and things like that, and so we get to see people that look like us, and so we continued the journeys. And so back then there was none of that. There was no mass tool that we all could see each other on. And this was basically, it was homegirls sitting in a group on a bus talking to each other and being like, yeah girl, like niggas this ain't shit, and that was about it. So you had to be really strong-minded to get help and to fix the trauma that you've experienced as a black woman in 1974. That's why these bitches was getting into Ted Bundy's car like it was no big deal, hitchhiking and shit like that, because this wasn't being spread around like that where you could see it all the time, that Ted Bundy was out here killing motherfuckers. Like, it was on the news, but like if you a hitchhiking hippie and shit, you ain't looking at the news like that, love. You ain't looking at newspapers and shit. You a hitchhiking hippie and shit, girl. That's why you could just pick them off like it was nothing. Because nobody was spreading that shit around like we do today on social media. Like, there is a serial killer right now in Southern California. He came from Washington State down to this motherfucker, and he kills motherfuckers with axes. I'm gonna find that nigga's picture. Some white, blonde, blue-eyed, hillbilly motherfucker is out there, y'all, in Southern California, and he's a serial killer. We didn't have the speed and the mass of news that we get influx with all the time. We didn't have Google and shit to where I could just tell you that there's a serial killer right now in Southern California. I hope they caught his ass. I was scrolling one day, the other day, and I saw that shit. I got up, I think it was like midnight, and I was just up scrolling, and I got up out of my bed and went to the door and made sure it was locked. I just needed to make sure that my door was locked, love, because God in heaven. So like, this was all we had. So this is an issue of not having resources, just like when I reviewed Set It Off. And I just kept thinking, at first when I reviewed Set It Off, I was just like, why aren't they getting resources for childcare? Why aren't they like going to the county office and seeing if there's resources? Because you can go online now and see it. And then I was like, oh, they didn't have online. And then I remember going to the county office with my mom and us being there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Like, they didn't have, these resources were not readily available for them to get the help that they need. So they thought the only way out of it was to kill, steal, and destroy, you know? Today, I even question at this point, are there still gang members out there? Because you know how quick you can make money online. Like, drug dealers are online now. They're not out in the street like that. Like even the drug game has gone a digital, love. Like, so like this is just another situation of not having the resources rather than she's an evil person. Like, this nigga is trash because he got kids and you actively not taking care of your children but willing to play house with this bitch because she's the vagina of the week. I don't have time for that. But for her and the way that she was struggling and the way that she was treating her kids and things like that, and the frustrations and the feeling overwhelmed and feeling upset, and then she leaned on this nigga like he was her addiction. He was the thing that was going to make her feel better. And a lot of times that's all you had back then, is a nigga to come into your life and make you feel whole because you didn't have nothing else. You didn't have the resources to look up meditating and yoga, and all of that was expensive, and it was for the white man. Our hippies was doing shit like that, nigga. Like, black folks wasn't doing yoga in the 70s like that unless they had money and shit to go to pay for yoga classes and things like that. We didn't have like free yoga classes at the beach and shit. Like in Long Beach, they got yoga on the bluff where 100 people will go out there and do yoga for free like a couple times a week and shit. Like, we didn't have shit like that back then, or if we did, it wasn't spread around and well known enough for a bunch of black folks to be going. We didn't have wellness activities like that. The oldest son is like a freedom fighter. He trying to help the neighborhood and shit, but it's based off of like the rage and anger that comes from racism and having to deal with all this shit and seeing his mama being mistreated by the system and by niggas and shit. Like, that's why he got a vasectomy, because he's tired and he don't want to be a part of the problem. But I feel like that was an extreme place to go, and he didn't have enough information as an 18-year-old child. Remember yourself at 18. Look at yourself now. You were a child, because I remember I was a child. We were children. To be making those like lifelong decisions like that. So I can't 100% be like, oh well, she was a bad parent and she was this. It was just the hand she was dealt in the situation that she was in, and the only way that we knew how to discipline our children was to spank them. And she went overboard with that brush, and she did, but they were able to decompress and figure it out and shit like that. So anyways, the oldest son because she going around town trying to find this nigga. The little kids is going around trying to find this nigga. Like, everybody in that family trying to find this nigga. So finally the oldest son finds this nigga drunk at a bar, beats his ass, and he lets him beat his ass because he knows he's a piece of shit. And he was like, I told you if my mom drops one tear over you, I'm gonna drop some blood. And then he was like, and he let him hit him a couple times, and then he hugged him because he wanted to be like, I'm sorry and I could be your dad, and la 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 la. And I was just like, but you can't do this with your own children. You know, you are a part of the problem. You are a part of white supremacy. You are the patriarchy. You are the misogynoir, honey. You are. So anyways, he decides to go back to the house, apologize to the kids, and he gonna marry this bitch in her apartment. I'm just like, has it been like what, 6 months? It hasn't even been that long, and I just like, it's gonna be a good 2 years. You're gonna have 2 more babies, and this nigga's gonna bounce. I don't care. That's what's gonna happen. That's what's going to happen. It is. I care what you talking about. Pattern recognition. You need to believe it. You need to believe when somebody shows you who they are, that's who they are. And so while they're getting married, apparently the oldest son is like doing his little freedom fighter thing, and he wants to stop the welfare office. He thinks the welfare office is the problem. And it is the problem, because you're putting these people in a loop where they can't get out of it unless they're in extreme poverty before they can rise above. And you can't be in extreme poverty like that with kids. Maybe by yourself you can be in extreme poverty until go to school and get student loans and shit like that, but that's not gonna pay for 6 kids. Okay, no, it's not gonna pay for 6 kids. And so he's mad at the welfare office for putting his mom in that loop, and so him and the freedom fighters go to to fight the welfare office and say we want jobs and not welfare. And it's not about the welfare office. It's about you aren't able to get a job because the welfare office will take your money. And so like you should be able to still get that governmental help while trying to climb up to a certain extent. And the certain extent needs to be like a professional career type job. Not, oh, now you work at McDonald's and you flip burgers and you make like $6 an hour or 25 cents an hour. I don't know, $1 an hour, whatever minimum wage was, maybe $3 an hour back then. So you don't need welfare anymore. And it's like you only work like a couple shifts and shit. And you only work like a couple shifts a week or some stupid shit, maybe 20 hours a week and shit, because that's all they could give you. That's not enough to pay for 6 children and rent and all the things and food. And that's not enough, love. It's girl. And so they thought they were going to bombard the police. They didn't have guns. They didn't have weapons. They were just going to run up on the police. And of course, the police starts chasing him. And he's supposed to be the witness at their wedding. They use a little 12-year-old boy as the witness. But like he runs from the police. The police is chasing him. And he leads the police to the wedding. Love, why are we leading the police to your family? Like, why? We're a child. We want mommy. That's all it is. We want mommy to help because I'm in trouble and I want mommy. That's what it is. Let's leave it at that. And the police take the whole family to jail because the whole family decides they're going to go with him to jail. And then that's the end of the movie. He gets married. She gets married to this nigga, and then she goes to jail with her family. And they go from one prison to another prison. And this is assaulting a police officer. We don't know how much time they're going to get for assaulting a police officer, and who are they going to accuse of assaulting a police officer. For all we know, the oldest son and Rupert might just go to jail, and now this nigga that you married, it don't matter now because now they're in jail for 18 months or some stupid shit. And I just don't have the energy for any of that. I really just don't have the energy for any of that. And so like that's the end of the movie. Like that's the end of the movie, y'all. It's just a lot of tragedy and trauma, and next week I'm going to do Moonlight. I haven't seen that movie in a minute. No, because it's a happy ending. Like we assume that they get together at the end. Like, you know, even though he had to hide himself and pretend and do all that, we assume that them niggas got together at the end of that movie. So I'm going to do Moonlight because 2 weeks of tragedy and male trauma and societal trauma. That's enough. That's enough for these 1970. They call these blaxploitation, but I feel like they just lumped all the black movies into blaxploitation. To me, blaxploitation is that corny shit with bad production and costuming and bad acting, and like it's endearing though. You know, it tells a story. There's art to it. It's just you can tell the difference. This is cinema. This is Diane Carroll and James Earl Jones love. This is cinema. The last movie, Mahogany, that was Diana Ross love. That was Diana Ross and Billy D. Williams. This is cinema. Billy D. Williams was in Star Wars and various other movies, but he was in Star Wars. You know, that's Diana Ross love. This isn't blaxploitation, like not the corny type, not the type that's bad production and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? What is it? You gotta get high to watch that shit and just be like, this is interesting. Look at this. Yeah, but thank you for requesting this. I've never seen this movie and never heard of this movie. I heard of Mahogany because it's pretty. It's like colorful and shit. And Diana Ross can carry off the like elegante acting because she ends up being rich in that movie. So she was just eccentric and elegante throughout the whole movie because that's just who she was, and she ended up being rich. Diane Carroll stays poor, stays impoverished, stays in these traumatic environments, and she is giving elegance, classy lady. I am not tired. I am not overwhelmed. I am not dark circle eyes and, all of these things. I am, you just one step away from white diamonds, honey. But she did do well in this movie. She did. It's just that the way she carries herself came through. And so it kind of threw me off sometimes in the movie because I was just like, she just is so pretty, like just gorgeous, and body is tea, honey. Like, you had 6 babies? Really? My cousin was skinny as you and had 2, and her titties was like down to her stomach and shit. She looked tired. Okay, 6 babies. Living in the hood. Look like you exfoliate and moisturize every fucking day. Okay. I mean, it could maybe people just naturally have moisturized looking skin. They don't have to do nothing. It just naturally looks like that. Maybe people can just have 6 kids and never exercise and just bounce back every single time with not a titty sagging in sight. Everything is perky and wonderful. Like I just, maybe I'll do Coolie High too eventually, because this nigga from Coolie High is in here, and I remember Coolie High. That was a good movie. I don't want to do old movies. Make some more requests. I like the requests. There's some that I've missed. Like I need to do that movie on Hulu. Someone asked me a long time ago to do that hair horror movie on Hulu. What is it? Good Hair or something like that. Whatever that show was. It was a show and it was a few episodes and stuff like that. And the hair was like eating her or some shit. Make some more requests. I enjoy requests. It gives me something to like think about doing and stuff. But no, next I'm doing Moonlight. It's the cinematography is chef's kiss, and we get a pretty decent happy ending. They reunite, and I want to believe in my spirit that they got together and they got married, and it was a beautiful thing, and I just want to believe in my spirit that that's what happened at the end. Going from the end of that movie on into that dimension is they were happily ever after. They adopted some kids, got married. Maybe they lived on the beach. They just were these fancy black men living on the beach and happy. That's what I want to believe. There was some trials and tribulations, but they found each other again, and I just want to believe it in my spirit. My spirit says so. Anyways, y'all, I'm gonna get off of here because this was traumatizing to see her have to go through this and see her have to deal with this nigga that kissed like no, watch the movie. Watch the fucking movie. This nigga was snogging. If I could ever imagine what snogging would look like, that's how they say kiss in England or some shit. That's what I would imagine snogging to actually look like. This nigga snogged this bitch. James, I was like, James, you are an actor. You are a Broadway actor. You are, I think, an Oscar-winning actor. And what's going? We can't kiss. We don't know how to. I'll put a clip of it too, so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Because you're not gonna come on here and be like, "Why you keep talking shit about James Earl Jones?" Because he talks shit about bitches that look like me first. That's why. I don't care what you're talking about. I don't care what you're talking about. Go find an interview. That nigga stood on business on that shit, and he was so sincere and so serious, and I was just like, wow. The disappointment I felt when I saw that interview, I was just like, this nigga really doesn't like black women. He's sitting up here bald-headed as fuck with this white woman, just, yeah, and black woman this and black woman that, and y'all can't figure your shit out. And I was just, really? That's really how you feel? Damn, Mufasa said that shit with his motherfucking chest, and I can't sit up here and pretend. It's like, you can be with others that aren't black, but why you gotta bring black women into why you're with others? That means that we are on your mind, and you can't let us go. You don't really want to, like, if I wasn't black, if I was like any other race of woman, and I was dating a black man, and he was talking all this shit about black women, I would get the fuck away from him. Like, no, because if that's how you feel about your own people, nigga, like, how do you feel about yourself? You're a black man. How you gonna treat me eventually if I have some of them shortcomings that you talking about black women having and shit? How you gonna treat me then eventually? Like, girl, no, I don't got time for this. I don't got time. This nigga snogged this hoe down. Girl, let me get off of here. Oh God. I mean, so people be requesting movies and I just be talking mad shit, and I just be like, well, you seen the other video, so I'm guessing you requested it because you knew I was gonna talk mad shit. Like, they didn't expect me to talk mad shit about James Earl Jones. I don't know. Yeah. No, that nigga said that shit with his chest. I don't got time for that shit. No, that's the type of niggas that will leave you in dust and kill you and do all sorts of shit. You got to call that shit out when you see it, love. We're not about to okay that. Nope, not even a little bit. Anyways, let me know what you think of this review. I hope you enjoyed. Later days.